Page number 96. Handbook for Mankind โดยท่านพุทธดาสะภิกขุท่านพระสาภิกขุ Insight by organized training 8. Now we shall deal with the organized systems of insight training, which were not taught by the Buddha, but were developed by later teachers. This kind of practice is suitable for people at a very undeveloped stage, who still cannot perceive the unsatisfactoriness of worldly existence with their own eyes naturally. This doesn't mean, however, that the results obtained by these systems have any special qualities not obtainable by the nature method. Because when we examine the Dhamma closely, we find the nature method is the only one mentioned. Some people consider mentioned. Some people consider actual insight can be developed only by someone who has become so remarkable, or has such a suitable disposition that for him to come to full understanding of things, judge choice plan. It is a person to whom that transcendent virtue and the appropriate disposition. For such people, teachers lay down order systems of practice and size courses which start from scratch and have to be followed through thoroughly and systematically. These systems of practice for developing insight are now known by the technical term Vipassana Dura. Vipassana Dura is contrasted with study Gantatura, the two being considered nowadays complementary aspects of training. Vipassana is studied down within. It is strictly mental training, having nothing to do with textbooks, neither term study. Gantatura. No Vipassana is mentioned in the Tripitaka, both appearing only in later books. But Vipassana is nevertheless a genuine Buddhist practice designed for people intent on eliminating suffering. It is built directly on sustained, concentrated introspection. In order to explain Vipassana to people, teachers in former ages consider it in terms of the following questions. What is the basis, the foundation of Vipassana? What are the characteristics by which we may know that this is Vipassana? Judge what is the activity called Vipassana? What should be the ultimate result of Vipassana? Ask what is the basis, the foundation of Vipassana? We ask morality and concentration. Vipassana means clear insight and refers to the unobscure vision that may arise when a person's mind is full of joy and devoid of any defilement. Joy develops when there is moral purity, sin visuddhi. Morality is a prerequisite. This is stated in the text. Where the practice is described as proceeding in the series of stages called the 7 purifications and culminating in the pot and the fruit. Teachers regard the attainment of moral purity as the first of the 7 purifications. It consists of flawless behavior and is prerequisite to purification of the mind. Purification of the mind achieved when the mind has been rendered free of any contamination is conducive to purification of views, of freedom from misunderstanding. Freedom from misunderstanding leads to purity by freedom from doubt, and this conduces in its turn to the arising of purity by knowledge and vision of what is the true part. As long as any imperfection in body and speech remains. As long as any which just a profound, sending leads to purity by freedom from doubt, and this conduces in its turn to the arising of purity by knowledge and vision of what is the true path to be followed and what is not the path. This knowledge of the path to be followed leads to the purity by knowledge and vision of the progress along the path. This finally leads to the last stage of full intuitive insight or purity of knowledge and vision, which is the perfection of the very noble path. Because, no? Because the fruit of the path arises automatically once the path is established. The attainment of the path is regarded as the culmination of the practice. Moral purity is flawless behavior by way of body and speech. As long as any imperfection in body or speech remains, morality in the true sense is lacking. When it has been perfected, that is, when tranquility of bodily activities and speech has been achieved, the result is bound to be mental tranquility, conducive in its turn to the first stages of purification. Freedom from misunderstanding, freedom from doubt, freedom sorry. Knowledge has told us the path to be followed, and what is not knowledge, a vision of the progress along the path, and finally, full intuitive insight. These last 5 stages constitute vipassana proper, purification of conduct, and mind are merely the entrance into the part of vipassana. The 7 purifications, the 5 stages in vipassana, and the 9th step in the perfection of knowledge. Moral purity, mental purity, freedom from false views, freedom from doubt, knowledge and vision of what is the true path, knowledge and vision of the progress along the path, knowledge of arising and passing away, knowledge of passing away, awareness of fearsomeness, awareness of danger, disenchantment, desire for freedom, struggle to escape, imperturbability, imperturbability, readiness to perceive the Four Noble Truths, full intuitive insight. The purification consisting of freedom from misunderstanding implies the elimination of all false views, both inborn and acquired. It covers the whole range from original belief in magic to false ideas as to the true nature of things. For instance, regarding this body and mind as something enduring, something worthwhile, and the self seeing it as animal, human being, celestial being, or God, or as something magical or sacred. Failing to perceive that it consists of just the four elements of the body plus mind, and regarding it instead as a self, as possessing a soul or spirit, which enters and leaves it, failing to see it as consisting of the five aggregates: body, feeling, perception, active thinking, and consciousness. Failing to see it as just a matter of failing to see it as just a matter of reflection of the eye, received by of the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Four views lead to belief in magic and sacred objects, and give rise to fear. Rites and rituals are performed to neutralize the fear, and the end result is firm harmony. Or on account of false views. Such a situation indicates views that are not as yet faultless. To have given up false views is to have attained what was originally called the third purification, and what later teachers class the first stage in Vipassana. The purification consisting of freedom from doubt is brought about by introspection into causes. With freedom from false views, One sees himself as just body plus mind. Freedom from doubt consists in perceiving the nature of the causes responsible for the coming into existence of the body-mind complex. One sees penetratingly and in fine detail the coming into existence and the interaction of ignorance, desire, grasping, clinging, karma, nutriment, and so on, to form body and mind. Freedom from doubt results simply from this clear knowledge of the causes and effects of all things. In the Vipassana system, teachers recognize 20 or 30 kinds of doubt, but some of they all amount to doubt as to whether or not oneself exists, whether or not oneself existed previously, whether or not oneself will continue to exist in the future, and if so, in what form. The only way doubt can be completely dispelled is to realize that there is no I, but only elements, aggregates, and nervous system together with such causes as ignorance, craving and attachment, karma, nutriment, and so on. Because no real I is involved at all. One starts giving up the foolish idea, I am, I have been, I shall be, with a complete eradication of doubt. The second stage in Vipassana has been achieved. This does not mean that the I consists has been given up for good and all. 5 vestiges are still present. Adequate understanding of the mode of interaction of causes has resulted in the dispelling of doubt, has made it possible to give up the idea of I in its closest forms. When doubt has been transcended, it becomes possible to bring about a purification sitting perfection knowledge as to what is the right path to follow and what is not. There exist several obstacles to this further progress, which usually arise because of Vipassana practice, where the mind is in a concentrated state. There are likely to arise various strange phenomena with which the meditator may become aware, such a wonderful, impressive aura seems arise in the mind's eye, the physical side being stretched. If these effects are purposely encouraged, it can become highly direct. And if the meditator jumps to the conclusion that this is the fruit of vipassana practice, or congratulates himself, saying, "This is something supernatural, it's real to me," and the like, the arising of this phenomena is liable to bar the way to the true path and fruit. Consequently, teachers consider it the same track. Right, Ali. Another example is the rising feelings of joy and contentment, which continually overflow the mind to such an extent that it becomes incapable of any further introspection, or jump to the conclusion that this is not over now, right here and now, so that the way becomes rock and further forgets is impossible. This is another obstruction to insight. Tissues say, furthermore, that even insight into the nature of body and mind may sometimes lead to self-satisfaction and the delusion that the meditator has a remarkable degree of spiritual insight, so that he becomes overconfident. This too is an obstacle to practicing vipassana. Occasionally, the meditator may make use of the mental power he has developed to make his body go rigid, with the result that he loses the awareness necessary for further introspection. This is a stubborn obstacle in the path to further progress. Yet meditators usually approve of it until page number 102. Have a wonderful night. Right on. All night. All over the world.